Hey everybody, Sharon here, and I'm going to share with you today a tutorial on how to can meat. So I am working with elk today in this tutorial, but the process works for any venison. It also works for beef. So if you've got beef you want to can, if you got moose, you can use this process. It's the same thing. So this is actually a tutorial that I pulled out of my full canning meat course. So in the course, you're going to find other things like chicken, broth, soup, stew, just different things like that. It's all about canning meat. If you're new here, maybe this will give you a little taste of what you can find in the course. I'll leave a link below if you're interested, and let me know what you think. But let's get started, and I'm going to teach you how to raw pack elk. Also works for venison and beef.
Hey there, I am canning elk today, and so I'm going to show you how it's done. Super easy. First thing I'll do is I'll go over all the supplies that you need, and then we'll go step by step on how to fill the jars and how to process them. So obviously you need a canner. I have my Presto pressure canner over here. Please be sure you do have a pressure canner. Do not use a water bath for this process. The meat is a low acid food, and so it definitely needs a pressure canner to process correctly. I have my canner warm already. I have about 3 quarts of water in there. Check the book that comes with your pressure canner to determine how much water goes in there. But usually it's around 3 quarts of water. Your water does not cover your jars. It just fills in just the very bottom of the canner. I already have my jars in the canner today. What I do is I put them in there to warm up. I am doing pints today, and we're going to use some regular mouth jars. Often when I'm doing meat, I like to use a wide mouth jar. It makes the jar easier to clean. Meat tends to leave a residue inside your jar, but my wide mouths are all used up, and so we're just going to use regular mouth because that's just kind of a personal preference thing. So we've got regular mouth jars out here ready to go. This is the pot that I have my meat in. Now I do have it in a pot on the stove, but the reason is this meat was in my freezer. This is elk meat that we got last hunting season. What I do is I go ahead and cut it up and get it ready for canning and put it in the freezer, and then I pull it out later when I have time. So I pulled it out of the freezer and I thawed it out in the fridge. I pulled it out, and I don't want to put that cold meat in my hot jars and in my hot canner. So what I do is I pour maybe a cup or 2 of water in the bottom of the pan, and I just bring it to a simmer and then allow it to warm up to like room temperature. I'm not cooking the meat. I'm just warming it up so that it's not cold anymore. So that's ready to go there. I have my canning funnel. That'll keep my jars nice and clean. I have my weights for my canner. I use a weighted gauge. That's my preference. You can also use a dial gauge, and we can go over the difference. I'll go over the difference in that in a little bit here. I have a bowl here with my lids. Now what I'll do is I'll pour hot water over those lids. You do not have to boil your lids, but I like to keep them rinsed with hot water. I have another bowl here with all of my rings. I have canning salt back here ready to go because that goes in my jars. And then I have my bubble tool, and that's important because you want to make sure you get all the air. You don't want big gaps in your jars when you put the meat in the jars. And then a slotted spoon makes it easy to serve your meat out into your jars. And then the jar lifter. Please be sure you have a jar lifter. The jars are hot once you've filled them with meat, and then they're hot coming out of the canner, and you want to be sure that you can confidently grab the jar and be secure with it and not be dropping things or burning your fingers. So I believe that's all the supplies. Oh, and then I do have a paper towel here. That's to wipe the rim of the jar as you put the meat in and keep it nice and clean. So with that, let me zoom in here and I'll get a closer shot, and we'll go ahead and start filling up jars. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and get some hot water here and pour it over my lids. Some people say that you can just take the lids out of the box and just put them right on your jars, but I always recommend at least giving them a good rinse with good hot water. You don't have to boil them. They're going to get plenty sterilized when you put them in the canner with the food, but do have them nice and clean and hot. The same thing with the jars. You don't have to pre-boil them, but do obviously make sure that they're nice and clean before you start filling them with food, and then they're going to get sterilized and processed in the canner with the food. So I like to work in twos, so I'm going to grab 2 jars out of the canner here. And then I use a canning funnel. It keeps the rims of my jars as clean as possible. And I just go ahead and put meat in my jars. It's super easy. You want to leave a 1-inch headspace. The headspace is the distance between the food and the top of the jar. And you use your bubble tool to kind of push things down in there and arrange your meat so that you don't have a lot of big gaps. Let's see if that's about right. Yeah, that's about right. Make sure you press things down and have them all nice and clean. Now I put salt in my jars. A 1/2 teaspoon works for pints. You can use a full teaspoon if you're doing quarts. You can also, if you want to, you can do things like add some bouillon in here if you prefer. You can add a little bit of onions, things like that. I like to just do salt, and then it's really versatile when I'm going to use the jar. I can use it for all kinds of recipes. So let me go ahead and fill this second jar. And then I'll add my salt on top. Now the next thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that the rim of your jars are clean. If you have any salt that got on there or any of the juice, the grease from the meat, then it might interfere with the seal. So what I do is I use a paper towel. You can use any kind of a lint-free cloth if you'd rather. I dip it in the hot water here, and then I go around my rim and just make sure it's all wiped off. You'll notice I'm not adding any liquid to my jars. This is because we're doing a raw pack. Raw pack, the meat is going to provide its own juices once it processes in the canner, and so it makes it really nice. You don't have to add any kind of liquids. If you want to, you can do a hot pack. You go ahead and simmer your meat for like 5 or 10 minutes, probably closer to 5 minutes. You want it done, but not done hard, because it's obviously going to cook some more in the canner. And then you can add liquids. You might want to add broth, or you might want to add tomato juice, anything like that. But I usually do a raw pack. So I've got my meat in there, I have my salt, I've wiped my rims off, and now I'm going to add my lids. And again, these are just in hot water. This is where that magnetic lid lifter comes in really, really handy. It's a cheap little tool, couple of bucks, and it's just really nice because then you don't have to handle your lids, and you can make sure that it's nice and clean before you put it on the jars. Last thing I'm going to do is put the rings on the jars. Now when you put your rings on your jars, you do not have to crank down really hard and make sure it's good and tight. You want it snug, and you want to just put it on there, but it's just finger tight, just like you would be closing any other jar for your refrigerator or whatever. Then the last thing is obviously put them in your canner. So I'm going to go ahead and fill up the rest of my jars, and then I'll go ahead and get it started processing, and we can talk about that whole step. Okay, so I have all of my jars filled and in the canner. I got to the end of the meat that I had taken out, and I had just enough for like a little one of these little half pints. And so I'm going to go ahead and process that along with my pints. When you're canning, if you want to go down a size jar, you can do that. You would still, there is no tested processing time for the smallest, for these small half pints. And so what you do is you go ahead and process it for the full time of a regular pint. You always go up a step. So you never want to go down. You don't want to cut your time in half just because you have a smaller jar. So I'm going to go ahead and just put this in there with that, because I don't have any use for just a half pint jar of meat right now. So I used just a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I did put a little bit less salt Let me wipe my rims off and get it in the canner. Okay, so I have all my jars in my canner, and I put the lid on and I screwed it down. I sealed it tight. It's going to take a few minutes for this to come to a boil, and what's going to happen is when it comes to a boil, there's a valve up here or a stem, a little pipe that's sticking out of the lid, and steam is going to start escaping out of that stem. Now I happen to have a really low hood over my stove, so I'm going to turn my canner a little bit so that when that steam comes out, it's out here and it's not going to hit directly under the stove. That might or may not be an issue for you. It just depends on the size of your canner and the distance that you have here. Okay, so once that steam has started coming out of here, I'm going to let it steam for 10 minutes, and that's called venting. And that's getting all of the air out of your canner, making sure everything is thoroughly heated and the oxygen is getting pushed out. After 10 minutes, that is when I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my weights on. I put my weight on that stem, and that is when pressure will start to build. This has a little valve here that will pop up. Sometimes it spits a little bit and a little water comes out of it. That's normal. That valve will come up and pressure will start to build. You can watch your dial. When it gets to the proper pressure according to your elevation, that's when you start your time. So I live at high elevation, and so I'm going to go ahead and process with my weighted gauge at 15 pounds pressure. I'll include a altitude adjustment chart for you here. It's a download that you'll have to look for, and it should be right with the lesson. That will tell you, according to where you live, what your pressure should be. If you're way down in Florida, you only have to use 5 pounds pressure. That's very cool. But that is the adjustment that you need to do for your elevation because we're pressure canning. Now let's talk a little bit about the difference between a dial gauge and the weighted gauge. Now my Presto pressure canner is actually a dial gauge canner. It has a dial on here, and it comes with a weight that I can use that I put on here, and it's basically a counterweight. And what I would do is I would watch the dial for it to get up to the 15 pounds, and or when I'm using the dial gauge, I actually only have to come to 14 pounds for my elevation. But that's when I would start my timing. Now, the last time I had my dial checked, and you should have it checked once a year at least, it was reading a little bit off. And so I had a choice. I could buy a new gauge, buy a new dial gauge, or I could go to a weighted gauge. And I prefer to use the weighted gauge, and so that's what I did. I got this weight. It actually comes in three pieces. So those of you who don't need to use 15-pound pressure, you would only use the weight minus one of these rings. See if I can get them off here. So the rings are separate from the base. So the base is 5 pounds. You add a ring, and that makes it 10 pounds, and you add another ring, and that makes it 15 pounds. So, so when I'm doing that, I can still use the dial as kind of a guide to where I am. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to listen, and I'm going to watch, and my weight is going to just start rocking gently. When it's rocking gently and steadily, that's when I know it has reached 15 pounds pressure, and I can start my time. So if you're using a weight, if you're going to use your dial gauge, watch the dial. If you're going to use a weighted gauge, watch for it to rock. There's 2 ways to do it. Okay, so once you have reached the proper weight, whoops, let me take this back off so I don't forget, because I didn't do my venting time yet. Once you have reached the proper weight, that is when you start your time. I'm doing pints today, and so I'm going to process for 1 hour and 15 minutes. If I were doing quarts, I would process for 1 hour and 30 minutes. So that is about it. At that point, once your time is done and your processing time is finished, you've gone through your hours, hour and 15 or hour and 30 minutes, what you do is you just turn the heat off, and you're going to allow the canner to cool naturally. You're not going to put water on it. You're not going to put a fan on it. You're not going to do anything to try to speed up the process. It just needs to cool down all by itself. Don't move the canner. Once it has dropped down to 0 pressure, on this canner, this little valve here is going to drop back down, and then you're going to know it's at 0 pressure. At that point, make sure you just leave the canner alone. I always add another 5 or 10 minutes. Just allows it to slowly cool down and slowly depressurize. What's happening is the canner is depressurizing and the jars are depressurizing. Once you wait your 10 minutes, go ahead and open that canner lid. I can do it now. What I do is I open it, make sure you open it away from you so that you're not going to get steam in your face. And I like to set the lid on the counter and wait another 5 or 10 minutes. At that point, you can go ahead and take the lid off completely. Look at the jars. If they're really still boiling hard, you might want to wait another 5 minutes with them just resting in the canner. If they're lightly bubbling, then it's okay. You can go ahead and take them out. When you take your jars out of the canner, you're going to want to set them on a counter on some kind of a thick towel. If you have one of those dish mats, you can use that. You don't want to put it on a cold counter because those jars are still really, really hot and you don't want to break your jars. They may still be bubbling. That's totally normal. Leave the jars alone. Do not tighten the rings. Don't push down on the tops. Just put them on the counter and then step away from them and leave them alone until they cool down to room temperature. Usually that means, for me anyway, I put them on the counter and I leave them overnight. I check them in the morning and make sure they're sealed. So in the morning, we're going to pretend like this is the next morning, and I have a jar here that I've already canned, and this is how you check the seals. It's really super easy. What you want to do is you want to look at the top of that lid. It should be slightly concave. It should not be bulging out at all. When you push on it, there should be no movement. You shouldn't hear any popping up and down. You do want to take the rings off for storage. A couple of reasons for that. One, there might be a little bit of moisture left in here, and they tend to rust. So just go ahead and take that off. You can try to dry it out real good, but there's lots of little grooves in there, and inevitably they're going to rust. Another reason is you don't want this ring artificially holding the seal down. If that seal comes off when you go to take a jar out of your cupboard, you want to know that the seal is good. If it's good, there's no ring on there holding it, then you know it's a strong seal. Another thing you can do to check the seal and make sure it's good and tight is take a hold of your jar just by the edge of that lid and just hold it up like that. And then you should know that that seal is holding the weight of the jar. Your jars may be a little greasy, and that's totally normal. Go ahead and just wash them in some warm water, a little bit of soapy dishwater. Some people worry about that. They worry that it's going to break the seal and you're going to, ruin all the work that you just did. But if the light amount of handling that you do to wash your jar breaks that seal, then it wasn't a very good seal in the first place. And so you want to know that. Be sure you mark your jars. Now you might think you'll remember, but inevitably you forget. I always put the type of meat. So this one says elk, and then I put the month and the year. You could just put the year, that would be the minimum. You can also, if you want to, you can get more detailed, like maybe you added onions to this, or you added bouillon, and you want to remember things like that. You can write it right on the lid. Let me think. I think that's it. You got the dates, your jars are clean, they're ready to go in the storage. Store them on a shelf. You don't want to store them in direct sunlight. In fact, the darker the better if you have a pantry. You don't want to store them where they're going to get either too hot or if they're going to freeze. That's not good either way. But usually a pantry, or if you have a basement, don't store them in like a utility room where there's going to be a lot of humidity or anything like that either. I live in Colorado where it's really, really dry, and so humidity is not really an issue for us, but I know some of you might live where it's really humid, and so you just don't want to store these where there's going to be a lot of humidity. So that is it. Canning meat is super easy. It's not something that you need to be afraid of. And sometimes people are intimidated, but I encourage you to just get started and give it a shot. Once you got one batch under your belt, you'll realize how easy it is. And when you go to use it, it's super yummy and good. So if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. Again, this is Sharon at simplycanning.com. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'm going to go ahead and finish up this batch. Y'all have a great day.